You want the good news or you want the bad news first? Bad news? I'm surprised you said that. But we'll start with the bad news first. It's going to be short. Right now, the 49ers are in second place in the NFC West. And with the NFC North playing good football, I wouldn't hold out for the wild card. Go and try and win the division. The other bad news is right now, they're losing the tiebreaker with the Arizona Cardinals. Not only do they have a worse record, they lost the head-to-head. And the second tiebreaker, divisional record, Arizona's 2-0, and the Niners are 1-2 in that spot. Now, the good news, there's plenty of time to change this, and some of the metrics say that the 49ers should be better than their record. Now, some of you might be watching it going, yeah. They should have beat Arizona. They should have beat the Rams. They didn't, and they're frustrating. True. But let's dive into this and talk about where things could improve for the 49ers and what it would take for them to win the NFC West. Now, the Arizona Cardinals are solid. They're on their bye this week, but they're not great. I mean, they're 6-4. You can chase down a team that's 6-4 through 10 games. What Arizona has coming up is Seattle, Minnesota, Seattle again, the Patriots, the Panthers, and the Rams before they play the 49ers week 18. This is shaping up to be a week 18 game that's going to matter. In the NFL, there's always a couple. Well, this one is shaping up to be one of them. It could be for the NFC West. So here's what's reasonable for the Arizona Cardinals, I think, having watched them and just looking at who they are so far this season. I think Arizona splits with Seattle. I think they lose to Minnesota. Then they love this, what they have coming up after that. The Patriots, the Panthers, and the Rams. Let's say they win all those games. That means that Arizona is 4-2 in their next 6, and that puts them at 10-6 coming into the Week 18 game with the 49ers. So with the 49ers at 5-4, what does that mean? It means if they go 5-2 and then beat Arizona, they can win the division. And I know what you're thinking because I'm thinking it too. 5-2. They're 5-4. How can they go 5-2? All right, well, let's talk about the schedule first and then talk about the other part of it. They play Seattle this week. Got to win. They have, going into that Arizona game, 2 games that they definitely won't be favored in. Well, I guess they could be favored by the time that Lions game rolls around. But let's just say right now, you're not going to favor them against Buffalo. You're not going to favor them against the Lions. Hey, I want to tell you to use the code GUY at PrizePicks.com. You make a $5 lineup, you get $50 immediately into your account. I've been telling you about PrizePicks forever. I play constantly. I do my full lineups and the full shows, but it's so easy. You can just jump around very quickly and just see what jumps out to you. What do you like? Do you like Brock Purdy more than 259.5 passing yards? Do you like Lamar and his passing total? Saquon, let's say Saquon's going to score a touchdown Thursday night. The one thing I've been adding into some of these is, I know the PrizePicks likes me to do the football stuff, which is great, but here's what I like to sprinkle. I got to admit, basketball, NBA rebounds. I'll just go like Daniel Gafford plays for Dallas. Never heard of him. Playing against the Jazz. Thursday night, I'm going to go more than 4.5 rebounds. Boom. Now all of a sudden I'm into Daniel Gafford in the Jazz game on Thursday night. So it's that easy. Code GUY. Make a $5 lineup, immediately get $50 into your account. The Packer game is a 50-50 game. And then the rest are games that you should win. The Seahawks, the Bears, the Rams, the Dolphins. So let's say they win those games. And the 50-50 Packer game, because we're talking about they got to play better football in order to get this done. And then they lose the Lions game and they lose the Bills game, which, won't feel good. But that's 5-2. You go 5-2 against this schedule, which I don't think is crazy given some of the other stuff that says this team should be better than they are. You go 5-2 against the schedule, you win the Arizona game, you're 11-7, you win the division outright. And we know if you end up with the same record as Arizona, let's say you go 5-3 and you end up with the same record as them and then you beat them, then it's going to get into tiebreakers. I actually think the tiebreakers, depending on what game you lose, I think it'd be critical for the Niners. If they don't go 5-2, but they go 4-3 down the stretch, it'd be critical for them to not lose the Seahawks game and not lose the Rams game. They could lose the Bills game. They could lose the Lions game. They could even lose the Packer game, which wouldn't feel good. but they could lose that game. And the reason is the first tiebreaker is head-to-head. Well, if you have the same record as Arizona and you beat them week 18, we go to the next tiebreaker. The next tiebreaker is divisional record, which right now the Niners don't have in their favor. But if they win the rest of their divisional games, including the Arizona game, then they'd likely end up tied with Arizona in divisional record. The next tiebreaker is common opponents. Well, Arizona lost to the Lions. Arizona lost to the Packers. Arizona lost to the Bills. They beat the teams that the Niners will still play, like the Dolphins and the Bears. They did beat the Jets, who the Niners already beat. And they still play Minnesota. So that'd be a game to keep an eye on. If you're thinking about tiebreaker scenarios, you don't want the Cardinals to beat Minnesota. So it's critical to beat Green Bay. It's critical to beat Arizona. It's critical to beat Seattle. And it's critical to beat the Rams for the 49ers. That's what's absolutely critical. Now, can this be done? Well, there's only one other team in the league right now, the Ravens, who are top 6 in both passing offense and rushing offense. And most of that for the 49ers has been built without Christian McCaffrey. So does Christian McCaffrey solve all of the red zone issues? I am one that felt like he doesn't, that I think part of it is Brock needs to be better in the red zone and Kyle Shanahan needs to be better in the red zone. They need to fundamentally run the ball better in the red zone, which McCaffrey in theory should help with. But the reason I think it's not all Christian is because this was a good red zone team pre-Purdy and pre-McCaffrey. Kyle Shanahan's, when these teams have been good, the Garoppolo, Niners teams, they were good red zone scoring teams. We're talking touchdowns. We're talking red zone scoring. So they were good red zone scoring teams. So I think Christian helps it, but I think a lot of this is Brock and Kyle need to be better too. How bad are they in the red zone? You've probably heard a lot of these red zone stats, but the Niners are 5th. Here's the good news, that they're getting there, right? If you're going to be top 6 in rushing and top 6 in passing, 6th in rushing, 5th in passing, you're moving the ball. Well, they are 5th in the league in red zone attempts, how often they get into the red zone per game. They're 13th in red zone touchdowns. So when you take how much they get there and then middle of the pack as a scoring team, what does that leave you? It leaves you the 28th ranked team in touchdown percentage, which is I think a great stat. I use it all the time in college football too. Red zone touchdown percentage, the percentage of your trips that are touchdowns. 28th. If they can get from 13th in red zone touchdowns, they just keep getting there at the rate they're getting there. They don't have to go to first. If they get to like 8th, get a little better, instead of being 28th, be 15th down the stretch. And I do think red zone percentage, touchdown percentage is a pretty variable thing. But now I think the bigger ad in the red zone, I shouldn't say bigger. I think it's Christian plus Juwan Jennings. That opens up the run game. It opens up Debo a little more. It opens up Kittle, and probably Purdy's legs a little bit to factor in there. So I know 5-2 when you've watched this team, and they're 5-4 feels crazy, and you can't say, well, they almost won the Arizona game. They almost won the Rams game because they almost kicked the Bucs game away, right? If you're going to play that game, you got to play that game both ways. But anyway, I don't think it's as crazy as it sounds. And I think the good news for them, and this is why I've kept saying it's a math problem with the NFC West. The good news for them is the team they're chasing is a 6-4 Arizona Cardinal team who's trying to prove something, right? They're a solid team. But if they go off and win the division, it's the first. They're trying to do something for the first time, which is hard. It's hard to finish the job. They got to go finish the job. And the schedule out there allows them to do it if the Niners falter. But if the Niners play good football and Arizona plays solid football, the 49ers can still chase them down.